Okay, Raleigh, welcome back to the podcast. We got a new segment. Once a month, we're talking travel getaways from Raleigh. We're going to focus on one domestic drive destination, which is not too far, within like 4 hours, and an international trip that you can fly. So today we're talking about Biltmore Estate and Lake Law in the mountains and London in the UK.
Yep, very happy to be talking about travel. Some of you may know, some of you might not if you're new to us, but we are what you would call travel professionals. I really do love that title. Have been travelling since 1997, lived in 5 countries, travelled to over 50, and for the last 14 years, we've done it as our business over on our global travel site, ytravelblog.com. So it's our job to travel, to write content, to share content on social media about it. So we are travel experts, and we know people living in Raleigh love to travel. So we want to be here as a resource to help you do that in the best way possible so that you can just relax and travel more, create better memories, and we can sort of guide you to what we think are some of the best things to see and do in a destination.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And what did you discover about going overseas recently?
Yeah, so the penny just dropped for me a couple of weeks ago. So Australians, typically when you talk about travelling abroad, we will say going overseas. And it just dropped in my head the other week that I realised that going overseas and travelling internationally is exclusively the same thing for an Australian, because the only way you can get to another country is to travel overseas. And then I realised, that's why sometimes you say things and people look at you funny. So I said it on Threads, and a couple of other Australians jumped out and they said, yeah, I've got the funny looks before because...
Yeah, because Americans can drive internationally to like Canada and Mexico, but we cannot.
Right.
We can't even drive to Tasmania, our little island state off the mainland. We can't drive there via a tunnel or a big bridge. Nope. You can put your car on the big car ferry, but to go internationally, we have to fly.
Yeah, so we'll always say going overseas, where Americans typically say going abroad.
There you go. Fun fact for the day.
Fun fact for the day. I know you're all going to sleep better now because you've learnt that fun trivia fact.
Yeah, but you've probably heard us say many times, obviously we love living in Raleigh, but we love getting away as well. And one of the great things about living in the City of Oaks is its great central East Coast hub. We can drive to a lot of places pretty easily, and direct flights out of RDU are getting better and better.
That's right.
So, let's jump straight into Biltmore Estate. I think we've been, at least 4 times.
I think so.
And we always take visiting family or friends who come and visit us in Raleigh because it's just such an amazing place to go. It's like, 250 rooms, 4 stories, and known as America's biggest home or
Absolutely.
house.
America's biggest home, owned by the Vanderbilt family. It's French chateau style. So very much like the Loire Valley in France, where we were last summer.
True.
Castle hopping down around there. It's also a World Heritage, National Historic. Okay, I'm going to check up on that.
Yeah.
Sometimes the labels
you
get
check up on that
locked in my head.
But it's on like 8,000 acres. As I mentioned, 250 rooms. You can't go into every room, but you can tour a lot of them. We're going to talk about that in a second. 4 floors and just an incredible property. As you mentioned, it was built by George Washington Vanderbilt, a former railroad tycoon who famously turned $100 into 1,000 million, and through his construction business become one of the wealthiest men in his prime. And it's still in the family.
Yeah, the family's still very wealthy now.
Yes.
The Vanderbilts.
Yes. And, to get there from Raleigh, you're looking, roughly a 4-hour drive. It's just outside of downtown Asheville. So, straight out on the 40, easy to get to. And I have heard of some people doing a day trip, which you could do, but that's a big day. Yeah. And so we recommend at least 1 or 2 nights stay. We're going to talk about all about this. But, there's lots to do on the property. And did you figure out that fact?
National Historic Landmark since 1963.
There you go.
Now, I've spoken to a lot of people in Raleigh lately. Many have mentioned to me that they have the season pass for Biltmore, which is something I think we should look into because Biltmore, as we said, is easy to get to from Raleigh. We've been 4 times, I think. I'd easily go back again. Plus, Biltmore changes with every season. So there's always something to go back and have a look at. And spring, for me, we've been every season except fall. And spring for me, I think Christmas is quite special because you've got the Christmas lights and all of that. But
Yeah, and they put that huge, humongous tree in the foyer area, like, which magnificent.
it is. It has that wonderful, cozy Christmas vibe. But I think Biltmore just shines when those gardens are blooming, and they are very well known for their gardens. And when we visited in 2018 with my parents, Chihui, I hope I pronounced that right, had his glass art sculptures on display in the gardens, and it just made it so beautiful. And you're in luck because he is coming back this spring, and he hasn't been back since 2018. So this is a great time to go in the spring, see those beautiful blooming gardens, but also see his magnificent artworks. I love him. He's great. His glass sculptures are so wonderful, and we went to his museum in Seattle.
I was just going to say, I know we've seen him in another place. I couldn't recall where. But
We've seen him in multiple places across
Seattle.
the country, but his glass museum is in Seattle, which was a fascinating place to go. So we're really lucky to have him come back.
Yeah. I was just chatting to someone recently about the annual pass, and they said if you could just go there twice, and you got your money's worth.
Yeah.
So I guess that makes sense. Like, you know, some places like Disney and Universal have annual passes and stuff like that. If you go often enough, why not?
And there is a lot to do there. It's not just the house and gardens. So we still haven't done everything there, because you can go horse riding, you can do Segway trails, bike riding, because the estate is huge.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, obviously you want to do the house. We've done it several times. You want to at least do a tour of the house once, and you can do a self-guided audio tour, which is interesting, and a good way to keep the kids engaged as well.
Yeah,
instead of them just wandering off. I mean, like, I'm not sure. I mentioned 250 room house. You can't go into all those rooms. You can go into a bunch. I mean, it'd be an amazing place to play hide and seek growing up as a kid. Could you imagine that?
Could you imagine?
So if you've got kids that like to wander off, they might be tempted to do that. But if you got the audio tour, keep them engaged and on track.
But I don't know. It's been different every time we went. But the last time we went, they moved you around the course. I think other times we went, you could like walk around wherever you wanted, whenever. But this time you had to follow a rope, like one way.
Yeah, right.
Around the house.
Did we visit at some stage during the pandemic? Maybe it was a structured... No?
Last time we went was 2018 with my parents.
Wow, it's been that long. We're due to return.
We sure are.
But obviously the house tour, do that. And I believe that they do open up different rooms over the years, I don't know what time period. So we, even though we've done it before, I'm sure there's something new to see. And especially seasonally.
Yes, there is, and always check the schedule, because when we visited with my parents, they had a Titanic exhibition within the house. So as you moved through the different rooms in the house, they'd have mannequins set up with costumes from the Titanic movie, because there's a connection between Titanic, the real Titanic, and Biltmore. I can't remember what that connection was. And it's the same time period. So you sort of walk around, and the way they had set up the exhibition, and that you were learning a lot about the Titanic and the era of that time as you wandered around. And it was really very well done. So they have different things like that throughout the year as well. So you might want to time a visit with some kind of exhibition that interests you within the home itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, it's a big property. There's plenty, there's hiking trails that you can do on there. You can just wander around, or biking. There's the Antler Village, which we've been, and we've had lunch there, and there's various stores and shops and stuff like that. It's a cool place to hang out. It's like a village within the estate.
And they have a little garden area. I know that sometimes when we were there, it was raining, but sometimes in the garden area they have live music.
That's right.
So it's just a nice sort of place to relax. It's a fair way away from the Biltmore Estate. So really, to get around, you do need a car or a bike or something, because as we said,
that would be ideal. Depends on your ability to get around. Probably a long walk. I'm not sure how far it is, but
I think it would be a long walk from the house to the Antler Village.
Yeah, the Antler Village is it's got places to eat, the creamery, ice cream shop, stores. There's an outdoor adventure center, and it's where the winery is as well, which we enjoyed free wine tasting.
Yeah, look, we've
we've tasted a lot of wine
we've tasted
around the
a lot of
world. Like
wine.
obviously in Australia, and we're very biased about how good our wine is in
and
Australia.
we love some Italian wine.
New
and some
Zealand,
Spanish
South
wine.
Africa, some of the best regions in the world. So we like our coffee. We're a bit fussy with our wine.
We are, and look, I'm not going to say the Biltmore Estate wine is top notch, but it was an enjoyable experience. We really did enjoy tasting wine there. I recommend doing it. And fun fact, we learnt there that the Biltmore wine is the most sold wine in America.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That was
who knew?
blew my mind.
Over
Couldn't
all the
believe
other
that.
like destinations like out in the West Coast and stuff, California and Washington and Oregon and stuff like.
The most
interesting.
sold or the most widely sold. But, that was a few years ago now, so that fact could have changed. So,
Yeah.
ask when you go down there and you wine test, ask the servers, they'll tell you about it, the sommeliers there. So,
Yeah, and I'm guessing it's still free. But when we did it in our last visit, you mentioned a few years ago, it is free wine tasting and had around 20 handcrafted wines from their vineyard, and some of them award-winning. Mm-hmm. And for the kids, they have complimentary grape juice. So
that's right, yeah.
which is cool.
Yeah.
Very family friendly.
Kids were happy about that.
Yeah, and we picked up go and taste some wines and bring home a bottle of your favourite.
We didn't talk about the gardens and the Pisgah National Forest, which I think is fascinating part to Biltmore and its history. And you learn all about this when you go there, but when you standing on the huge balcony of the house and the courtyard everywhere, and you look out, all you can see around you is the Pisgah National Forest. It's just gorgeous, and it never used to be like that. It was like just kind of all bare land, I think, because they had torn it all down.
Yeah.
And so Vanderbilt, and I think it was his wife, really was instrumental in putting plans together to protect it. Mm-hmm. And so the Pisgah National Forest was created from that. And I believe it's kind of started this whole idea of national forests. And it was the landscaper was also part of that, and his name was Olmsted. And I just learnt a lot about him because I was reading a book called The Devil in the White City, which was all about Chicago's World Fair in 1893. And Olmsted was the landscape architect for that fair. And so throughout the book, they keep mentioning Biltmore House. He also was responsible for creating New York Central Park. So pretty big dude, big guy in the landscaping world. But he worked on the Vanderbilt's gardens and the landscaping, and he was very vocal in, we need to protect this land and do something about it. So they were kind of like the John Muir of the East. They got together and advocated for national forests and protecting our land. So that was just wonderful to learn about that.
Yeah.
While you were visiting, and to look out and all you can see is forest around you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just so great, such a great story and wonderful to see. And just to think it used to be bare and now it's this lush forest, what we can do when we, put our minds to conserving Mother Nature and understanding the importance of it.
Yeah, obviously the house is super impressive, being America's largest home. But yeah, one of my favourite parts is just walking out on all the terraces and stuff, and verandas or whatever they're called, and just overlooking the forest, as you mentioned. Especially when the colours are there, like in fall or in springtime and stuff like that. It'd be incredible.
Yeah,
but
just beautiful.
Yeah, speaking of nature, I mentioned horseback riding and hiking. There's 22 miles of trails that you can navigate around the property. And do a Western style guided horse ride. I'd love to go back and do
That'd
that.
be fun.
I love horse riding. We've done horse riding in many different places.
I'd love to do that.
Yeah. We love getting around by foot, by bike, by horse. And you can also paddle down the river through the property and stuff too. There's a bunch of stuff to do. So
and
I think
Segway tours they used to have there too.
Yeah, that's right. So I think ideally you could easily probably spend 2 days on property. Would be a nice amount of time. And whenever we go somewhere, we like to incorporate the accommodation, which is relevant to the destination. And whilst you are close to downtown Asheville, we actually stayed on property on Biltmore Estate at the Inn on Biltmore, which was a charming and great property to stay. And you're on property, obviously. You're right there. So easy access to everything. But we stayed there with your parents. It's a 4-star luxury hotel. Charming, as I mentioned, and the rooms are very comfortable, great foyer. And even if you don't stay there, you can go and have afternoon tea, which we did too, which is always fun. I like my afternoon teas.
Yeah, it was great. We had champagne upon arrival.
Oh, that's right.
It was probably sparkling wine, I think. But out in the outdoor terrace garden area where the pool was, and it was excellent service, and it really elevated that experience, especially being with my parents. They love it was a treat for them. It's not something they normally do, but they just loved the Biltmore House, and they talk about it all the time, their memories of being there and staying there at the inn. And the Christmas, the Biltmore Christmas, Hallmark Christmas movie that was on last year, I was texting my mum, "You've got to watch this movie." And she's like, "Oh my God, I love the Biltmore House." But that's the only movie I've ever seen where I've actually been in every single set of the movie, because the entire movie is shot inside the Biltmore House and outside. So that was really cool.
Yeah. I mentioned afternoon tea. Even if you don't stay at the inn on Biltmore and you want to go to afternoon tea, just keep in mind that it is more elegant attire to do that. Like, you can't just rock up in a pair of shorts and flip-flops. But
No.
I also remember staying there. The breakfast was awesome and a great way to start the day.
Yep.
And like, if you want to catch sunrise and stuff and be there, and it's so quiet just to walk around the property first thing in the morning. It's beautiful. But yeah, we had nice views from our rooms too.
Yeah, you get to enjoy the property without all the crowds, which was nice.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I love saying, the inn on Biltmore, check that out. We've got an article on Biltmore Estate and the inn. We'll put that in the show notes as well. I mentioned it's not far from downtown Asheville. Obviously, you have a bunch of accommodation there, but yeah, it's just so nice to stay in the charming inn and be right there, close to everything. We also have a 48-hour guide to downtown Asheville, so you can combine a stay at Biltmore and everything to do in Asheville, which is obviously a great place to eat. It's an arty city, and lots of walking, obviously, in the nearby Blue Ridge Mountains and stuff too. So a lot going on there.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and we recommend, if you're going to go to the effort to go all that way out to the Biltmore Estate, why not incorporate a couple other things as well? So downtown Asheville's a great thing. You can easily incorporate that. It's right on Asheville's doorstep. But our favourite place is Lake Lure. Lake Lure is probably, well, I haven't been to every lake in the US, but it's one of my favourite lakes in the US. It's just something special. And I was speaking to someone else about it the other day, and they said to me the same thing. It's just something special. When you go into that place, there's something special there about it. Probably, it's Indigenous spirit is probably living quite strong there. But Lake Lure is kind of hidden in the mountains.
It's right near Chimney Rock State Park, which is... Yeah, I don't know if we're saying it right. Like Lure, like Lure.
Yeah.
But yeah, Lure.
Right. It's about an hour from Asheville, I think.
Something like that.
It's not as a crow flies. It's very
less,
short.
Maybe like 45 minutes. That's not far.
Yeah, but it's not. It's quite short in distance, but it's a windy road down there, so it takes a little bit of extra time to get there, but it's totally worth it. It's
if you didn't want to
beautiful.
stay at the inn on Biltmore Estate, and you didn't want to stay in downtown Asheville, you could probably stay easily on Lake Lure and then do a day trip to Biltmore.
Yeah.
So that's another option. But yeah, I mean, mostly vacation properties around Lake Lure, and I mean, obviously, I haven't even mentioned it. What's it famous for? Like, what have we been there to do, which was hilarious?
I carried a watermelon. Do you know
Dirty
what I'm
Dancing,
talking about?
like the famous lake lift scene where Patrick Swayze lifts Jennifer.
I was going to say Aniston then.
Is it
No,
Jennifer?
Jennifer Grey.
I was going to say Ghana. I'm like, what am I doing?
Too
Need
many
more coffee.
Jennifers.
Jennifer Grey. When Patrick Swayze lifts Jennifer Grey up out of the lake, that was filmed in Lake Lure.
And so is the watermelon scene when she carries the watermelon up the stairs. If you go to Lake Lure, you can do a boat tour, and the boat tour will take you past where the stair scene is filmed, and it's kind of like, it's hard to see, it's kind of tucked away behind another house, but you can just see it. So the scenes when where the dancers lived, and she carried the watermelon up to go to the dancers' accommodation and the party there, that's all filmed at Lake Lure.
And
all
the
of that.
lodge too was...
No, the lodge is not. The lodge was up in wherever up north they filmed it, New York or something,
But yeah, that's a fun fact. Dirty Dancing fans, we went to, what was it, the 30th anniversary of the show?
Did.
And you raced Kalara with a watermelon?
Yeah, we did a watermelon race. We just did a short sprint carrying a watermelon. It was so much fun.
That's
It was
hilarious.
the annual Dirty Dancing Festival, which they've just recently stopped.
Oh, I was
which
going to say, I wonder how often they
sad
have
to
that.
hear.
Like every
It's
5 years?
Every year in
Every year?
August. Yeah.
Wow.
But so many people, there's Dirty Dancing fans, you wouldn't believe how many there are. They all go there every year. And
That's a shame.
It's a huge party.
Yeah.
Lots of like shag dancing and fun events like watermelon races and all of that.
Yeah.
The lift lake competition, so
Oh.
you can actually get in the lake and lift people and try and win.
Yeah, that's right. I'm sure if you've been in a swimming pool or the beach or something and you've tried to lift another human out of the water, how hard it is.
Oh, very difficult.
So
It was fun watching them try.
maybe that's why Jennifer Grey, she's quite petite. Mummy would have made it easier, I guess. But yeah,
No, I think they did a lot of training to make that happen.
Yeah.
A lot of takes too. But
and Hollywood. But yeah, and I mentioned Chimney Rock State Park, which is right there near Lake Lure, and that's another great. It's one of the top destinations in North Carolina. You're probably familiar with the view from the top of the rock with the American flag overlooking like the valley and the mountains. It's quite spectacular. There's some cool hiking trails there and waterfalls, and it also featured in a Hollywood film. I think near the end of the movie, one of the scenes in The Last of the Mohicans
Yeah, I
was
think it was
filmed
the
at
end,
Chimney
the
Rock
chasing
State
scene.
Park
Yeah.
with Daniel Day-Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, bit of
Beautiful
Hollywood in the
area.
area.
Yep.
Yeah, so there's Biltmore, downtown Nashville, Lake Lure, Chimney Rock State Park. Great getaway.
I'm feeling like it's time to go back.
Mm-hmm.
It's been too long.
Yeah, I can't believe it's been that long. It feels
Yeah.
like 2 years ago or something. So, alrighty.
Well, the pandemic, those years didn't really happen.
No, 2 years wiped off the calendar.
Right.
All right, so that's our domestic focus for this month, and now we're gonna. Can we say cross the pond? Going overseas,
We're going overseas.
cross the pond. That's we say in Australia. You go to New Zealand, you cross the pond.
Yeah, and that's the closest country to us. Everywhere else is over the giant seas.
Yeah. Now you've
And the
probably heard
ocean.
us talk about London several times. Caroline lived in London for 2 years, from straight out of university, from 97 to 99.
Yep.
And we've been to London many times. We lived in Dublin for a year, visited London many times, and we were there most recently 2 years ago to today, basically, in
It was
in
spring break.
springtime. We had 10 days in London and also went to Bath and Oxford. But yeah, we love going to London. It's easily one of our favourite cities in the world.
Yeah, it was fun to
And-
take the girls there as well. They
Yeah.
really loved it a lot.
Yeah. And getting there from Raleigh, obviously they have the direct flight daily on American Airlines. It's a popular flight. We didn't actually do that when we went there because it was booked out, and we flew via JFK. But obviously London, there's a lot of options. You can go out of Charlotte, JFK, obviously, DC, Chicago, like all your major hubs in the US on different airlines. But if you can get on the direct flight, we always prefer to take direct flights if possible, particularly if it's only a short trip. If you only have X amount of days, you don't want to waste time at connecting flights, and you're also more chance of losing your luggage with the more connections in there. So yeah,
That's
if you can
right.
afford it, fly direct, get on there. Otherwise, there are other options.
Yeah, it's important to note that most flights going over to London are going to be red eyes.
Mhm.
So you will arrive and you're going to get jet lag and you're going to be very tired, because if it's difficult to sleep, some people may have trouble sleeping on a plane regardless, but what makes it challenging is that it is only like a 6-hour flight. So by the time you get on the plane, get your food, get settled in, you're really left to say 4 hours max sleeping time,
Oh,
if you can
even
fall
less.
asleep.
I would say
even
like
less.
3 hours.
Yeah. So it's not, you're really not going to get a lot of sleep. And then you're going to arrive early in the morning. We don't, and this is our expert advice from years of traveling, we do not recommend you arrive and go to sleep.
No.
Because to help yourself with jet lag, you really want to slip into the time zone of your destination. You can work up to that before you leave. You can start switching your time in America to be that destination time to make it a little bit easier. But that's challenging when we all have work and all of
Yeah.
those life stuff. It's very
Yeah.
difficult to do. But, if you go to sleep, that's just going to mess you up for the remainder of your trip there, because your body won't be able to adjust properly. So it's better that you keep yourself awake, which means that first day in London's going to be quite a draining day. So I would recommend just doing some pretty easy activities on your first day. We tend to do a lot of walking around to wake us up a little bit, that kind of stuff, right? Like, I wouldn't recommend going to the British Museum on your first day because that's quite intense, involves a lot of reading and concentrating, and you're probably not going to be in the right headspace for it.
Yeah.
And then plan for an early night. Try to get to bed by 8:39 so that you get a good night's sleep, and you will sleep well because you'll be exhausted. And then tomorrow you'll wake up and you'll be pretty good to go. You'll still be tired for a couple more days, but you'll be fine then to keep going and have the rest of the time there, and your body clock will probably be pretty well adjusted.
Yeah. If you jump on the direct flight from Raleigh to Heathrow, it's 8 hours. So you might be able to get a bit more sleep. But yeah, I can't sleep in economy. Maybe if I was fortunate enough to fly business or first, I got to be lying flat. But sitting up,
but some people can sleep.
I cannot sleep in economy. And so you turn up. Yeah, most of the flights land in London. They, as you said, they're overnight from the US. They land at like about 6:30 in the morning, and then it takes you about an hour or so to get out of Heathrow, and then about an hour on the tube into central London. We're going to talk more about that in a minute. But we were fortunate enough to be able to go straight to our hotel and get into our room, so we could put our suitcases, we could have a shower, get refreshed, and then we just went walking around Kensington where we stayed, and got a coffee, got some lunch, and fresh air, which does wonders. But yeah, I feel like when I went to London, when I went to Paris last year, I didn't sleep and just felt like a zombie for that first day, which I hate, unfortunately. But I have heard that there is a direct flight to London, daytime flight on British Airways out of New York. So
definitely try and get that.
If you want to fly in the daytime, check that out. People say, like, why would you want to fly in the day? Because you're going to lose a whole day of where you could be in the destination. But I'm like, if you don't sleep overnight and you're like a zombie the whole next day when you get there, what's the difference? So I'd rather fly in the day and feel normal, feel like a human, and then hit the ground running.
Yeah, and just so you know, it's almost always entirely true that if you go to your hotel, you may not be able to check into your room, get an early check-in, but they will definitely hold your bags for you.
Yeah.
And then you can go and explore. We did have to pay a fee to check into our room earlier.
Yep.
I think it was like $50 maybe.
That's right.
So just be wary. You may have to pay for an early check-in if the room is clean and available for you. But it might be worth it. Just, have a shower, sort of freshen up that way.
Oh, yeah.
Leave your bags and then head on out. But don't lie on the bed and fall asleep.
No. Another hot tip, actually, a lot of people do this. If you have a flight that arrives early in the morning, like 6:30 in London, to actually book the hotel for the night before it, so you can go straight in. Like, for the sake of maybe another $200, $300 or whatever, it could be money well spent. If this is like a dream trip and you're going away for several weeks and you're doing a lot of things, what's another $200 or $300?
Well, yeah, I know. It's everyone's decision. I wouldn't.
I would.
I would try and just pay the extra for the early check-in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but if the room's not available and you can't check in early, if you've booked it that night before, you're guaranteed to have access.
I know.
Particularly depending on what time of the year. You're like, London's a popular city. It's like one of the second most visited in Europe after Paris, one of the top most visited in the world. So the odds of it being early check-in are probably pretty slim, depending on where in the city you stay and how much you're spending, the type of hotel. But
anyway,
if you want a guaranteed room, book it the night before.
And you can always reach out and ask them too, to see. But speaking of hotels, then we do recommend that you stay in the central London area. I know it might, depending on budgets, it might not be a reality because obviously the more central in London you are, the more expensive the rooms are going to be. But, I'm not talking about staying in central London like next door to the Palace or Westminster Abbey. You can stay a little so London is split into zones. Zone 1 is the middle of London, and then it moves out and goes all the way to Zone 6, which is way out where Heathrow is, and that, obviously those zones go around in a circle around the city. So we do recommend zones 1 and 2.
Actually goes to zone 9.
It goes zone 9 now. That's right. They've extended it.
Yeah.
See, I lived there a long time ago. It was zone 6 where it went to. But Zone 1 and 2 are going to be your best. And when we stayed there recently with the girls, we never stayed in a London hotel before that because I lived there and then we always knew friends. Yeah. So we stayed in Zone 2 and one hotel was on the border of Zone 2 and 3. And so you're going to find more affordable places out there, and those places are pretty quick and easy to get around on the tube. And even in our hotel was Zone 2 out in Kensington, we could even walk. We're big walkers, so we could walk to a lot of the attractions. Like we were quite close to Hyde Park, Kensington Palace, and we could walk around. But really do your best to try and get Zone 1 and 2 because you're going to be close to everything you want to see, especially if you're there for a shorter period of time.
Yeah.
Because even though it's so easy to get around London either on the tube or by walking, it still can take quite a bit of time to move from one place to the next. So you want to reduce your travel time as much as possible.
Yeah. For perspective for you Americans, London is twice the size, at least, of New York, as in it sprawls forever.
Yeah.
And there's like 9 million people there. And if you're coming in out of Heathrow, tend to know you'll be coming from Zone 6. So Heathrow is in Zone 6. And now they have the Heathrow Express, don't they? Tube. When we say tube, we're talking London Underground, like the subway in New York. So if you haven't heard the term tube before, that's what we're talking about. And does that go to Paddington, the yes. Heathrow Express?
The Heathrow
and once you
Express
get to Paddington, like there's some huge hubs in London, like Paddington, King's Cross Station. What are some of the other big ones? Like
Victoria Street Station.
Yeah, I mean it's a vast network. I guess we should talk about getting the Oyster card for getting on the tube.
Yes, you can get the Oyster card. You can also now do tap and.
That's right, with your credit card.
Now we couldn't do that. A situation for us was trickier because we had the girls with us, and you could only tap and go. Like you can only use one card per person, and we didn't. So we couldn't use a credit card to tap and go for me and then use that same card to tap and go for the girls. So it was a little tricky. Plus, kids can get either free or half-price tickets.
Depending on the age. So we have a blog post. It's very in-depth about getting around London. It explains the Oyster cards, tap and go, even if you want to go around not on the tube but the overground train, because if you're going like to the Harry Potter studios, then you'll be catching the overground train there. Yep. So there's so many different ways you can get around London. So it's like a very in-depth, it's like 5,000 words because that's London, like getting around it is easy, but you got to understand how it works first. Yeah. So tap and go, obviously you tap your card at the stalls at the train station to get through the turnstile, or the Oyster card. I think you can also get on the double-decker red buses too, can't you? With the Oyster card?
Yeah.
So it is great. I mean, it's good value, and you can get it over different periods of time, whether 1 day, 3 day, a weekly pass. Yep. It is really good value. It covers all. Does it do the ferries on the Thames as well?
Some of them are, and some of them aren't. And there were a little sort of funny sort of rule things around it as well. But that's all in the post that I've written to.
Yeah, and there's an app. You can get a tube map, which is very handy. You can put in your pocket. You know the London Tube like the back of your hand because you live there. But once you get to know it, it is pretty easy. But the little map, there's a little map that you can have in your hand, or there's an app as well, which is very handy.
Yeah.
And the great thing about a London Tube, which we're not used to growing up in Australia, is like there's literally, you don't have to worry about a timetable because they come all the time, within minutes. Yeah. So it's so easy to plan.
It is. It's so great.
Just go to the station you need to go to, and the line, and on the map the thing is like, because each line is color coded as well, isn't it? Like, what are some of the obvious ones?
The Central line is red. The City line is yellow.
And the green ones are pretty popular for getting to most places.
Yeah, because the yellow and the green one travel in a circle around central London, so they're pretty too popular. But I know all the lines.
But as she mentioned, we've got an in-depth post about using the tube, and it's great. I love it, and I can get to anywhere pretty easily. And the station's just easy to find. They've got the big tube sign on the ground level, and one thing of etiquette riding the tube. What are you got to be aware of when you're coming out of the tube, or going down the tube station, or coming out on an escalator?
You better stick to the right, people. You better stick to the right on those escalators, because so when I lived in London, I was never standing still on an escalator. I was a true London local. So you need to move over because people like to walk up and down those stairs. And that was how I got my exercise because I was teaching in the day and working at a bar at night. So I was not... That was the only way I could exercise was walk up and down. And those things are massive. They go
some
like
of the
stories.
Tube stations are like hundreds of feet underground.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So do not block the escalator. I tell you, you will get yelled at by a London local without a doubt.
Particularly in peak hour, I guess. When people are commuting on the tube, they're in a hurry. You know what it's like.
Yes, because you are in a hurry a lot of time. And if you're trying to get a connection between the underground and the overground, like the overground are timed trains schedules, so, just stick to the right.
Yeah, and when you're getting on the tube, you'll hear the mind the gap. Please mind the gap between the train and the platform.
Yeah, there is a gap. You couldn't fall down there, but there is a gap.
And then depending, we'll probably talk about weather quickly, but you wear layers in London and you'll notice when you get on the tube, it can be really hot and you'll be...
It's the worst in winter.
And it's gets very crowded because London, as I said, there's like over 9 million people there and a lot of people use it commute or even tourists. Everyone uses the tube pretty much. And it gets crowded, gets stuffy. So, yeah, you'll be... Probably one of the most annoying things is the layers on and off all the time.
Yeah, and it's good people watching and you might get, some... I know at one stage the girls were nervous because someone on the train was like, I don't know if they were intoxicated or they were just being a little crazy and, it was good to just talk to the girls and say, this is normal.
Which you get in any city, whether you're on a bus, a train, a plane, unfortunately, I've seen some crazy stuff on flights lately.
Yeah.
You see it anywhere.
Yeah, but look, you're safe down there and there's so many people there and there's attendants everywhere. I think it's a very safe way to get around London for sure. And one tip we have, because even though the trains come frequently and it can take a bit of time because it is so far underground to get down, find your station, because some tube stations have multiple platforms, to find the platform and then get on the train and then do the same when you get off. So we do recommend if you can walk from one attraction to the other in less than 20 minutes, walk. Don't get the tube because the tube's probably going to take about the same time, even if it's a 5-minute journey. It will probably take about the same time if you take into account getting down there, etc. And look, walking around London, we were walking 30,000 steps a day. With our girls at the time were 14 and 10. Fantastic, because every corner you walk around, there's the remains of a medieval abbey, and then the next corner is the Shard, the massive skyscraper. There's always something to see, and that's just where the beauty of London comes alive.
Or a pub. On every corner.
Yeah, you can take a break in the pub.
Yeah, take a break, rehydrate, have a counter lunch. But yeah, that was our rule, wasn't it? If we could walk anywhere in 20 minutes, we're walking.
Yeah.
And the tube is the easiest way to get around, but we think walking is the best way because obviously if you're underground, you're missing a lot in between point A and point B. So, and we love to, we go hard when we're in the cities. We did the same in Paris and Rome. We work our kids hard.
Yeah.
But it's a great way to get your steps in, particularly if you're filling up in London pubs on lunches and pints.
Yeah, you need to walk
can burn
it
off all those calories, man. The fish and chips and the pasties and the pies, man, and there's something around every corner. And
indulge.
London's flat, so flat
easy.
as and easy to navigate.
Yeah, and, very.
We I guess we didn't have great Wi-Fi at the time because if anyone's with AT&T,
don't be.
Look elsewhere because our phones are locked. So there's a few challenges with accessing data when you're overseas, and we're with AT&T and they had this 10-day data plan which I paid for and signed up for, but it was terrible.
Don't do it.
It was terrible. It was like I was on dial-up. It was
Yeah.
basically useless.
Yeah.
And of course they charge you anyway.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, London being London, you can access free Wi-Fi in a lot of places. Just walk into any establishment or tap in somewhere, and if you need to screenshot or download something like a map or whatever. But London's pretty easy to get around.
It is, and look, I recommend if we it's our business to share travel as we're traveling, and we have a mobile business. So access to internet is really important for us. But if it wasn't, I wouldn't even worry about. I would just use the free Wi-Fi and that's it. So if you don't need it, take this opportunity to disconnect so that you're not distracted by TikTok. Because what do you want to be when you're in
Facebook.
London, right?
Yeah.
No, who cares about what's going on at home? Who cares about the latest trend? No, you're in London. Switch off. Walk around, be present, have a great time. You've invested so much to get there. Don't worry about the rest of the world. That you can return to them after your trip.
Yeah, it was actually a blessing in disguise, isn't it? It's
fabulous.
like a reason not to be looking at your phone every 5 seconds. Like you sit down at lunch and you're checking this and checking that. You're walking around and like getting notifications. It's like, no.
Yeah, they're designed to trap you into the app. Like they're clever at it. So just shut them off.
Yeah, you've planned and spent a lot of money for your dream trip. Like you said, be present and take in the sights, the sounds, the smells, the tastes. Other stuff online, what Mary Jo's doing, back home is like you can do that later when you're laying in bed in your hotel.
Yeah, exactly. One of the other big tips we have, and as we said, we want to help you. We've done all the groundwork for you. So over on our travel blog, we'll leave the links in the show notes. We have some itinerary guides. We love doing itinerary guides because we know what it's like trying to figure out where to go when, piece it all together. Yeah. We actually love doing that. It's our career. So we've put that together for you. And we have itinerary guides for London ranging from 2 to, 10 days really. And so the way we create our itineraries is that we start off the first 2 days in London, we have the major attractions. So the things that most people go to London for. Plus we slip in a few little local experiences as well. Yeah. And then as the days progress, we then kind of move out a little bit in London and we do, we get out of zone 1 and 2 and we do other things and start exploring cool neighbourhoods and stuff because we have that time. So you can use our itineraries. It's pretty much laid out for you. It's what we did, so we know it works. And then you can just adjust them as you need and what you think may interest you and or not. And the other way we also do our itineraries whenever we travel is that we explore one area of the city at a time. Because as we spoke about before, you can lose a lot of time getting from one destination to another. We missed on the first night, we missed a really cool sunset cruise along the Thames.
Oh, that's right.
We had the most extraordinary weather.
We got our cardio workout in there.
We got our cardio workout. My God.
Running from the tube station to the ferry.
Like a 15, 20-minute run. And we left with what was enough time, but in London they can frequently have tube issues where they break down, and so that happened. Or strikes, whatever's going on. When I lived in London, it was bomb threats, so they closed everything down because that was during the IRA. Yeah, that's late 90s. Yeah, with Ireland. But anyway, don't worry about that. That's not a problem anymore in London. But they can have issues. So we got stuck in between tube stations on a tube because it broke down, and we're we're going to miss our ferry, our sunset cruise. So we jumped off at the next station when it finally moved again, and we had to bolt along the Thames River, and we missed it by 2 minutes. Yeah, that was unfortunate. That was crazy. It was crazy, and we were so shattered that we missed it because we were looking forward to it. And we were jet lagged trying to run as well. But anyway, what I was saying is because of those things can happen, we want to plan our attractions and activities in the one area so that you reduce your travel time. So that's, if you use our itineraries, they're there, great, use them to help you. Yeah. That's how we've designed it. Yeah. I'll just touch on some of the top attractions. Some you have to plan for and book ahead, and some you don't. Obviously, London, England, like you got the Royals, you got Buckingham Palace, Westminster Abbey, which is incredible. St. Paul's, amazing. Definitely put them on your itinerary. Yep. Big ticket items we probably have to plan ahead for was the London Eye and the Tower of London. I would definitely get tickets in advance for those. For the Tower of London, the very first session. Yeah, of the day. Yeah, we turned up. Yep. Oh, it was incredible. We went to the first, we got the earliest ticket for the Tower of London, did the tour, and then you walk in through the Crown of Jewels and what have you. But not long after that, the guy said the wait could be hours long. 2.5 hours. Depending on the time of year you go, of course, and the day of the week. But general rule of thumb,
Get your tickets for the Tower of London, the first session.
Well, he told us it's 2.5 hours normally, no matter when you go, because it wasn't for us because we visited just after COVID, so they were still rebounding.
Okay.
But with the Tower of London, book the first, because you have your ticket to go into the Tower of London. So if you book it, you won't have to line up to get in.
Yeah.
But you do have to line up for the Crown of Jewels.
Yeah.
So that's why you want to do the very first one.
Yeah.
And then go straight into the Crown of Jewels, because the Crown of Jewels, they were interesting, they were good, but I would not line up 2.5 hours for that. Not worth it.
No.
But each to their own, though.
The London Eye, is it worth it? I say yeah.
Oh, yes.
It was sensational. And that is a timed ticket thing, and definitely book that ahead of advance as well. Obviously, sometimes it'll be more popular than others because some people want to do it like at sunset or at nighttime, but I think the daytime is great too. And we actually combined it with a river cruise on the Thames, which was awesome. I love cities that have rivers running through them, and we did a cruise along the Thames. You get interesting commentary, you get a great view of the Parliament and everything along the Thames,
all the top attractions,
under all the famous bridges and stuff like that. It's just relaxing. So we did the cruise and then jumped straight on the London Eye and got the perspective from how high is it? Like really high.
Yeah,
but it's great. But you're in this
360
degree view, and it's very smooth. And it takes several minutes to do a full revolution. So you get plenty of time.
Yeah,
get some great
like
photos.
Half an hour, isn't it?
Yeah, was it that long? Half an hour?
A couple
Maybe.
of minutes. That'd be moving super fast.
I might have hit the turbo button. 30 minutes probably makes more sense. But it was great. It's one of those things like, is it worth it? Isn't it worth it? I think it is.
I think it is for sure.
Like the views are amazing.
Yeah, it's really like if you can get high in London, the views are gorgeous, and I do think that was a very different views. Like we took in a lot of views. We actually have a post that says the best London views to get. That was probably the most expansive view, one of the, except for the Shard. That's much higher. The Shard is the
highest, but I think I enjoyed the London Eye more than the Shard. The fact that you got 360 degree views,
and you're a little bit
right
lower
on
to the ground, so you can see more than the Shard so high.
Yeah. So the London Eye, definitely, it's one of those things. Like, do it once. I guess it's like going up the Empire State Building once, or walking over the Sydney Harbour Bridge once. Like, do it.
Yeah.
Tickets. Otherwise, I think the other thing that comes to mind, the Harry Potter studios.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Definitely get tickets well in advance for that too.
Well in advance.
Because that's super popular. I don't think I have to mention that, how popular Harry Potter is.
But here's a tip, because it is very hard to get tickets. You really do have to do a couple of months in advance. But if there are none available...
Like Taylor Swift hard?
Yeah, not that hard.
Maybe not that hard.
Close, like Pull and Park hard, maybe.
Pull and Park
Christmas experience.
I think a bit harder than Pull and Park.
The Christmas experience.
Like, seriously.
The Christmas experience they have.
I guess perspective. The train around Pull and Park at Christmas, you're dealing with, 500,000 people? Harry Potter in London, you're dealing with probably 50 million people around the world. So, yeah.
But anyway,
choose your hard.
Here's a tip. If you can't get a ticket because it's booked out, go, and I have all of this, we have a blog post just on the Harry Potter world. Go to Get Your Guide and join a tour. It's going to cost you more money, but the companies like Viator and Get Your Guide, they buy up batches of tickets. Bulk tickets.
Yeah.
So they've got a set number for each hour. So if you join one of their tours, you're going to have an entry in. So that's like a little side door tip that you can do. It's going to cost you more money, but look, you get a guide, you get driven there from wherever, and they'll probably throw in a few extra things too, because it's a guided tour.
Yeah, I thought, So no, don't just turn up, because it's an hour on the train from Paddington. Didn't we leave from Paddington?
Yeah,
there's a few options. I think there's two
we were
options.
At Shepherd's Bush.
Shepherd's Bush.
There. Yeah.
I think there's at least two options you can go. But yeah, it's a full day. The studios, it's huge. You need all day out there, plus you got the transport time on the train. So yeah, definitely plan ahead for that.
Yep.
Other things in London, the parks and the gardens are awesome.
Gorgeous.
You got
especially in spring. They have cherry blossoms in Regent's Park.
Fantastic time to be in London.
Yeah.
What are the parks? Like Regent's Park. Hyde Park.
My favourite is St James's Park.
St James.
St James's Park is just out the front of Buckingham Palace. I just love it. It's just gorgeous, and it's smaller than the other parks.
Yep.
I like it better than Hyde Park. A lot of people love Hyde Park, but I think
Yeah,
St.
I do
James
too, actually.
is
Hyde Park.
so
I mean,
much
it might have been the
nicer.
time of year we were there that was still a little bit dead because we were there in April,
Yeah.
coming out of winter. It was just a little bit bland. But
Yeah.
and then Kensington Gardens as well.
Yeah,
It's
they were
fantastic
gorgeous.
near Kensington Palace, where Prince William and Kate call home.
Yes,
that was
and
beautiful.
it was Diana's home, and you can tour that. We quite enjoyed doing
Yes.
that tour. We didn't plan on it, and then it was our jet lag day, our day of arrival, and we were just wandering around
Yeah.
Kensington Gardens, and we decided that we would go into the palace, and we enjoyed it.
Yeah, the gardens and parks are beautiful. They're free, obviously, so
Yeah.
great, thing to do. Cheap and easy. Get some fresh air. Hopefully the weather's on your side. We got lucky. We got blue skies in London, which was a miracle. Pubs, obviously London. I got to mention the pubs.
Yeah.
Nobody does pubs better than the UK and Ireland, and the London
so.
pub scene. There's literally one on every corner. We have an article we can link to of some of our favourite pubs, but there's pubs all along the Thames. One I liked was the Anchor.
Yeah, they had nice views on the Thames. Yeah.
Covent Garden, obviously a very touristy place. Of the Lamb and Flag was a good pub there, one of the oldest pubs.
It's the oldest pub in Covent Garden.
Is
I
it?
think.
Yeah. Camden Town. We mentioned Camden Town is a great place to go and visit. It's punky market, grungy area, and there was a pub near there called the Edinburgh Castle. Not right in Camden Town, but we walked there. That was another good pub. So yeah, I love my pubs. The pubs are everywhere. Go there for a pint. Great option for lunch too, or dinner. Very affordable. Great with kids. Very family friendly. Although for you Americans, this is one thing we noticed coming from the States. You walk into a restaurant and they have a greeter at the front desk, a hostess. If the place is full, you can put your name down and stuff like that. Walking into the pubs in London was pretty much a free for all. But people could sit there because they don't have the tipping culture, so they're not turning over tables. And the Brits, they love their beer, their pints. They could sit at the table for hours all day. So
you're not
it can
get
be
service like you do
challenging
here.
to find a table. The service is not what you're used to in the US, organised like that. But
and look, it's not better or worse, it's just different.
It's
so
just
just
different,
going
right.
there knowing it's just a different culture, different way
Yeah.
of doing things.
Yeah.
Good thing is you don't have to tip, so
No.
celebrate that. That's great. You are going to have to chase someone down to give you water. That was the only thing I hated. I'm like, where's my glass?
I
of
know,
water?
where's my pint of water? As soon as I sit down on my, top ups. But yeah, because walking around, even though it's not 100 degrees and humid, you need to hydrate.
Yeah.
Not just with beer,
No.
but with water. But yeah, but you're saying that there's pubs everywhere. There's heaps of options. But yeah, good value. I love, especially do the classic Sunday roast,
Yep.
for a London pub, awesome, or fish and chips.
And if you're looking for a chain that has really good budget food,
Value.
the Weatherstone chain.
Weatherspoons.
Is it the Weatherspoons? What's the
Weatherspoons.
Weatherstone then? I don't know. But anyway, the Weatherspoons, great value. They've all. I remember we used to go there
And they're
because
everywhere.
London. I was a budget backpacker.
Yeah.
We'd eat and drink there all the time.
Yeah, but just ask the locals or ask someone in your hotel or this. Honestly, it's pretty hard to go wrong with a pub lunch in London. And the coffee scene was actually even pretty impressive.
It was impressive.
This has
It was
improved a
good.
ton.
There's a lot of Australian influence in
Yes.
the coffee
Yeah.
scene in
There
London.
you go. We'll wave that flag.
But we have it in our content, because you probably know we love coffee. So if we find a good coffee spot, we're always mentioning in our content. One place that I just remember off the top of my head, Borough Markets, which is on the Thames.
yeah, the
we
markets,
went there
yeah.
for lunch.
That was great.
Unbelievable markets. Bustling, so many people there on a Saturday too, the busiest day, but full of people. But you can find any kind of food you like, fresh punnet strawberries if you want, Prosecco drinks, you can walk around with that. Plus they had a cool little cafe there with great coffee. But that's, they're the kind of local experiences, although it's a little bit touristy now, but it's still heavy on the local, that we like to find and just throw into our experiences because, London's, their attractions are amazing, popular for a reason. You want to see it, but you also want a dose of that local life too, which is, where you get to know the culture and just the
So
vibe
Borough
of the
Market, was it
place.
Sunday that is a really busy day, or Saturday? Or probably
both.
Probably
but
both days.
Saturday is the more, and it's right near London Bridge.
Yeah.
So you can. We went to the Tower of London early in the morning. Then we crossed Tower Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, not London Bridge, Tower Bridge. We crossed Tower Bridge, and then we went over to the market. So they're right in walking distance to each other.
Yeah. I mentioned Camden Town too, like that's a popular tourist thing, especially on a Sunday. But I think it's worth going out there. And some interesting markets and stuff, and live music scene, grungy as I mentioned. And you can get the tube out there, but we took we went on the canals,
Regent's Canal.
through the lock system.
Yep.
And that was a unique way to experience it and get out there.
Really
I like
cool.
that.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. It was interesting to see that life. I never even knew it existed when I lived in London. I knew Camden, that was there every Sunday, but I didn't know that you could get around the locks like that. On the canals. And it was just a great way to see that side of London.
Yeah.
Really dirty though, which was yuck, but it's London, you got to, it's not going to be clean.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the locals said, don't go out to Camden Town. Like, it's overrated. It's not worth it anymore. But I think
it's great.
Like, it's one of those things. Like, do it once. I thought it was cool. It's London. I guess it's like, I mean, it's better than. I'm going to use an analogy. It's better than Times Square and Venice Beach. But it's like if you go to New York, you do Times Square once.
Yeah.
You go to LA, you do Venice Beach once. But
it's very grungy, but that's
cool.
its style. Like, it is cool grungy.
Yeah.
And if you love music, Camden has always been the place, one of the top places in London for local live music.
Totally.
So Coldplay, we went to that hotel that
The
Coldplay
Dubliner?
got their start at, Dubliner.
Yeah, we went out for a beer at night time, and the Dubliner was a red pub in Camden. Yeah, it's where Coldplay started, and we went into another pub, which was the local of Amy Winehouse.
Yep, she used to jump behind the bar sometimes and serve up beers and that. Just
love it.
Fun things to do, but
Yeah,
Camden's fun. Another area, if you have extra time, that's kind of hip and happening, is Shoreditch. Shoreditch, great if you love street art. So in London, there are laws, street art is not allowed, but somehow or another in Shoreditch, they've figured out how to get around the rules. And they put up the street art everywhere, knowing that in a couple of days it could get taken down. Banksy has got some street art there. So it's ever changing, the street art there, but they're out and they're trying to make some rule changes in London because, street art is super cool and fun. And you could do street art tour of Shoreditch. Shoreditch is the area where Brick Lane is, which is famous for Indian food. So that's a great place, and also famous for vintage shopping. Yeah. So that's another really cool area of London that you might want to check out.
That's East London, correct?
That's East
out towards
London.
where they had the Olympics and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, but we, I guess like Kensington. We loved Kensington as a base. Wandering around Kensington was a charming area and easy to get into the city on the tube, and it's kind of convenient to Heathrow and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So we really enjoyed staying in the Kensington area.
Yeah, it was good. We did a science themed afternoon tea.
Afternoon tea
was great.
Yeah, we'll link to that as well. But you're in London, you're in England. Afternoon tea, you got to do it.
Yeah, the kids will love that. Our girls. That was on our day of arrival, so we were jet lagged at the sugar.
There's several of them. I think the real fancy one. What is it at the
Langham?
The Langham or the Savoy, maybe.
Both.
Yeah, I mean you don't have to go that fancy. You can,
but you can find.
It's a fairly common thing now. Obviously, it's England. Afternoon tea, your scones and your sandwiches and your tea. We actually switched out tea for coffee, didn't we?
Oh, I had a glass of champagne.
Oh, champagne.
I did go coffee as well.
Depending on what time of day, folks, you can switch out your drinks.
Yeah, look, you got options.
I'm not a tea drinker. I mean, I grew up.
No, we did. We had coffee.
Drinking English breakfast tea, but I don't drink tea now. It's coffee or champagne.
America changed us.
It did.
America, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Made us demand glasses that are always filled with water and turned us into coffee drinkers. Anyway, another area I love to go to, and it depends on how much time you've got in London, but Greenwich.
Oh, Greenwich.
I recommend you can get there on the tube. Don't jump on the ferry.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Down
then
the
you
Thames.
get the Thames experience. And if you don't have time to do the riverboat Thames cruise that we did, that's an alternative way. You can get ferries down to Greenwich, just about half an hour, that either just take you there or do guided commentary along the way.
Yeah.
But Greenwich is the old place of time, Greenwich Mean Time, that's where it's at. You can straddle over the line, 1 foot in the east, 1 foot in the west. So it's really cool, and it's beautiful. The views from up there at the observatory are just gorgeous. London skyline and the Thames is beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, there you go. Like, it's so much to do. We had 10 days there and we didn't do everything. I mean, you lived there for 2 years and you still haven't done everything.
I lived there for 2 years, and on our trip 2 years ago was the first time I'd done most of the attractions.
I guess that's kind of thing when you live somewhere. It's like, can be like us, like,
Yeah, I was exploring local life, the pubs and the music.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're at that age, straight out of university. You're like, lived in the pubs.
Yeah, we did. It was fun.
But yeah, no, it's endless things. Yeah, I love London. Like all the attractions, the museums, fantastic. The river, the pubs, as we mentioned, the markets. And then once you're in London, you can get to anywhere easily.
Yeah,
around England.
Just get the train. Don't drive. Just get the train.
No, we did. We went on the train to Bath. We went to Oxford, and an hour from there, and you can fly anywhere in Europe easily. So, but that's a story for another time.
Let us know what destinations you want us to talk about in the travel feature of the month. So we're looking at showcasing some easy to get to domestic destinations and easy to get to international ones. So just shoot us an email, kazcraig@thisisraleigh.com, or you can chat to us on Instagram, but typically everything gets lost there. So just send us an email.
Yes. As mentioned, we've got a ton of articles on Biltmore, Lake Law, Asheville, and all our London content, and we'll leave links to that. But yeah, I can't wait to go back.
Happy traveling, everyone.
All right. Cheers.
See you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.